Hello, good morning. Welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Now today on Solutions, let's talk about the youth. There's the G4G dialogue coming up. This will happen next week on Monday. Of course, you've been seeing, the promos on air, the adverts on air, but what will be the main focus in this year's G4G dialogue? Key to note, and that's the conversation that will be taking center stage today on Solutions segment. And so in studios to help us understand that and what we should be expecting come Monday is Mr. Alan Sibelana. He is the UNFPA country representative here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome. So we've been seeing this G4G dialogues time and again, but people want to understand what's the main focus this year.
Well, so the focus is on Uganda's young population, right? So we're trying to be very careful not to say about Uganda's youth, but the fact that Uganda has a very young population, how can that drive Uganda's socioeconomic transformation?
Brilliant, brilliant. Socioeconomic transformation.
Yes.
That's a big thing because now we've been having this conversation. The unemployment rate in the country is quite high. In terms of education, the conversation has been, if we are to sort unemployment issues, we need to look at the education the young people are receiving in the universities. So how best will you be seeing these conversations and how best we can bridge the gap between the education the young people are getting, the young population is getting, and the job market?
Right. Well, look, I'm coming from a middle-income country, and this country wants to become a middle-income country. So what we believe is very important is that you bridge the gap between generations, because they are functioning according to different mental systems and thinking systems, and that's what is important. And I feel that this is not happening in Uganda yet. You need to bring that wisdom from the elderly together and sort of connect it to the energy of the young population, the vibrancy of the young population. And then, of course, my generation, which is the middle-aged generation, is the one that is currently at play, right? Those are the ones that have jobs that are faced with the difficulties. So it's rather looking at it from that dynamics between the three generations, but also from different sectors of life: public, private, academia, schools, and of course civil society. The education is one mix in that, right? The link between education and employment, and so skills, the importance of vocational skills, the importance of soft skills in the curriculum is part of that, where we believe that is one of the big policy implications that this topic will have. And we believe that at the end of this, there should be a more informed policy recommendation because it comes from different generations.
Right, right. And when we touch on policy, then we are actually touching on change itself.
Yes.
Because someone once said that, it's one thing to have conversations that we always have on a day-to-day basis with different stakeholders on different issues.
Right.
But where do these conversations stop?
Yes.
I remember there's a time where we were being challenged, we were being told, we always have these conferences, we always have these conferences in these big hotels, workshops, but it's always, most of the time, talk and no action.
Yes.
So with this G4G kind of dialogue, are we going to see some action, after we forge solutions come Monday?
I would hope so. It's of course the big question, right? Who's going to be accountable? And my answer to that is every single person. That's the other gap that is there. The decision maker, which at sometimes is the policy maker, right? But it doesn't have to be. It can be an influential leader, a church leader, a traditional leader. That gap between the aspiration and the decision is also something that we try to bridge. And so, yes, we will come up, I mean, not we, but the forum, right? The dialogue will come up with very concrete solutions. And it is important to note here that the panel that is comprised of the three generations is only one part of this. The other one is the audience, both in the room and outside. And I think it's important to have that multitude of viewpoints so that you have some recommendations that will make better sense and that will help the the decision maker to have more of an informed choice. Now, how that is going to be put into practice is going to be a process that we'll have to really define. But it would appear to me, when it comes to the issues around young people, I'm sure there are some members in government and in political decision maker that feel that this is their topic, and so they should then take responsibility, because you can't get it more explicit than from these 3 generations and from all walks of life. Right. In addition, of course, to your research, to your policy reports, to your bills that you're preparing in Parliament. So we want to look at this as a process which is really going to take shape over the next years, and I believe it's a very key ingredient in social dynamics and dialogues.
Right, right. And I think what I think puts apart this particular conversation come Monday is the fact that it's not solutions imposed on people. It is the crowd, the 3 generations that are going to come up with the solutions that are going to change the dynamics. Let's look at the youth, and we cannot have a conversation of the youth without talking about sexual reproductive health.
Sure.
Very important.
Yes.
Very important. The pregnancy rate right now, teenage pregnancy rate stands at 25%, meaning for every 4 girls, 1 is pregnant.
Yes.
So when it comes to that particular bit of the conversation with the youth on board, now that we'll be having the youth on board, how are we going to touch on that specifically, just to ensure that they get this and get this right? Is it just learning from the other generations before them?
Well, my immediate response to this is let's hear them out. Let's hear what they have to say, because this is it may be an important issue. It may also not be. We believe that it is important. You and I agree that it shouldn't be the case. But what is it like in a day-to-day life for a young person who doesn't have access to information even about family planning? What then happens? Do we have success stories of those that have gone back to school, or that have said, I'm going to keep my baby, but I'm going to finish school, I'm going to have a job, etc.? I think these are important aspects. Just than me, as UNFPA representative, telling you and your audience, you must do A, B, C, D. And I think this is the missing link that we don't have. And I also want to say that when we all talk very passionately about teenage pregnancies, what we know is 1 in 4 between 15 and 19, but what we don't know is those below 15.
Right.
So it is a huge issue, but I also think it's a sensitive issue, and this is a way of sort of touching on these issues without putting them at the forefront.
Right, right, and getting to hear them out.
Exactly.
I think that is what is very paramount.
Yes.
Getting to understand their day-to-day challenges, very important. And someone watching today, maybe not in the city center or the city, in the urban areas, but in the rural areas, they're wondering, how then do I get my voice heard? Are we having UNFPA having its wings spread across the country? Well,
that's one thing. Yes, we do. But it's important that the audience knows that we have hashtags. The main one is, of course, G4G, and this is part of our Live Your Dream sort of social movement, which started off as a campaign. This is only one component of that, right? The others are let girls be girls, books before babies, and with youth. So we do believe that these are movements rather than just one-off campaigns. This is just one of many dialogues to come where you should participate if you have the means, and if you don't have access to social media, then we must make sure that we have telephone numbers where people can call in and let their voices heard.
Right, right. And as we talk about social economic empowerment for the youth, there's this wave of entrepreneurial young people cropping up, and not just in universities, but also in primary, secondary level. You find a child coming with extra packs of biscuits to sell them at an extra rate to get pocket money, which is quite brilliant. But how do we nurture that? Because people say that Uganda is, I think, one of the most entrepreneurial states in East Africa, but the rate at which also the businesses die is as high. So will we be having that entrepreneurial bit and touch in a Monday's dialogue?
Yes, absolutely. There's a whole one of the biggest topics in this dialogue is around leadership and participation. So how do you make your life responsible? How do you give your meaning to your life? And that starts, of course, at the individual level. And I'm a strong believer in leadership from wherever you are. But we need to also take stock. Is it really an empowered leadership, or is it just a facade? Is it just a smokescreen? And I think it's important, again, to hear the perspectives from those who are in the private sector, but also from those who are in government and from those who are living it on a day-to-day basis. Do you have options, opportunities? Because having an idea, of course, is not all that matters. You need to have access to a minimum of other ingredients, like a bit of starting capital, a minimum of training, and so forth. And that's exactly where we want to take stock. Do we have all the ingredients there? And I don't think we do, for the simple fact that there is that gap between the decision maker and the dreamer, and there's that gap between the different generations.
Right. And speaking of the gap, mentorship is always the biggest conversation. And even when we speak of entrepreneurship, when we speak of how the young people carry out themselves, most of the times they say, fine, I could be coming from a well-off family, but my parents are never there. They're always busy looking for school fees and stuff like that. So are we also going to be having that bit of ensuring that we speak about mentorship? People who are going to be with these young people every single step of the way, be it in their social lives, be it in their economic lives, be it if they choose to go the entrepreneurship way. Are we going to be having that conversation on how to form strategies to have a lifelong mentorship program as well?
Well, I can't forecast what the content will be. What I can say is that what you've just mentioned was mentioned by one of the participants who is part of that the youngest generation in this dialogue, and who happens to have started her own company because she's entrepreneurial, and the key thing that she mentions that was the success was mentorship. So that's not by chance that you, as a young lady, mentioned that, and she mentions it too. But I do think that we need to hear more from her. How has she done it? How has it played out? Is it educational mentorship, or is it any other kind of mentorship? And I do believe we haven't even tapped all the potential, right? It can be spiritual mentorship, it can be parental mentorship. So this is definitely one of the ingredients, I would say, more than a topic. But if it becomes a topic, then we need to see, okay, are there solutions? Does this country have a culture of mentorship? And so forth. So this is all the kind of discussions that we're going to have on Monday.
Right. And people say that, okay, fine, we are gearing up to the general elections 2021.
Okay.
And the majority of the population here in the country is the youth.
Okay.
And over the past few, of course, especially this year when the year was coming to a start, the political space was quite vibrant, quite heated as well. And most of the people who were being used, quote unquote, were the young people, because people say that maybe they don't have values, for example, they don't have jobs, so it's easy for them to be used.
Okay.
So are these conversations as well that we're going to be having, for example, come Monday, especially now that we know 2019 will be quite vibrant, because the political players will be now getting on the ground just to see how much they can, make ground come 2021. So are we going to have a political touch in the conversation?
No.
Okay.
That's exactly why we are not doing it with government. And as the United Nations, we do not want to see any political affiliation or affinity, right? But what you're saying is might be very true, right? But that is I think the political dimension around how the society is structured from a demographic point of view. And I do think that this dialogue will help understand that one cannot do without the other. And I think that's very, very clear. How that will play out, I would not dare to venture into that.
Right. And I think the most important thing is that we're going to be looking at empowerment,
Exactly.
social economic empowerment,
Right.
something that is pushing these young people
And
to
listening.
doing such things
And listening to each other.
Right, right. So we're expecting this to be happening on Monday. What time is it open to the public, the youth? Can they come through?
Right. Well, we have, of course, a limited number of seats in the room where it will happen. I do believe the fact that NTV is graciously broadcasting this will help get to a very, very large audience. And yes, the hashtags will enable that participation back.
Okay.
So it starts off, I think we're live on antenna at 9. And it will go until 11:30
All right. Okay.
in the morning.
Okay. Before I release you, we need to play this. So this is what you should be expecting come Monday next week. Let's take a look.
Monday, the 17th of December 2018, UNFPA Uganda and NTV will host the first Generation for Generation Dialogue, bringing together young people, elders, policymakers and academics to discuss issues affecting the young people in Uganda, live on NTV from 9 a.m. at the Kampala Serena Conference Center. The theme of the dialogue is our young population driving Uganda's social-economic transformation? Join the online conversation on the hashtag G4G.
So the hashtag is there. You now know where the conversation will be going. Come Monday, be sure to be part of this. Look out for that conversation. NTV will be going live, of course, from 9 a.m. all the way to 11 a.m. We will be live for you to understand that, you know what, your dreams are valid and you have everything it takes to make sure that those dreams actually come to fruition. But before I let you go, what would you want the viewers to know? What are your last remarks?
That this is the beginning of a very interesting process, that no matter the objective, whether it's economic growth, whether it's political processes that lead to peaceful elections, it is important to ensure that all the voices are heard and that you really, really respect the voices both from the elders but also from the young people and of course from the middle generation.
Right, right. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're
studios.
most welcome.
We're looking forward to that conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Alan Sibenala. He is the UNFPA country representative. That has been it for Solutions segment. Keep your hashtags. The hashtag today is Morning at NTV. Always has been the hashtag. Keep your views coming. We'll be sure to look at those. Don't go away. Morning at NTV still continues.